Welcome to the Evangelistic House of God podcast.
Unscripted discussions on social issues from a Christian's perspective.
Hello and welcome to the EHOG podcast. I am Pastor Rod Harris, joined by Esther Smith.
Hi guys, how you guys doing?
Doing good. And how about you, Pastor Steve?
Doing good, thanks.
Yeah, one more time you put your EHOG pin on and do not alert the rest of us.
Oh my goodness. Let me take it off now. Okay.
Oh, you wasn't gonna take it off anyway. He had no interest.
I didn't know. It's such a.
And the thing about it is, we've been getting ready for taping and everything. He never even mentioned.
Right, he
It
never
was
said
just
y'all
on
missed our
my.
pen.
You know what? I did it earlier, and I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, right.
And then I just put my jacket on, and I just. Wow, I didn't know that.
This is what we go through every week, day after day.
He just keep leaving us out.
Trying to
so he can
upstage
be looking
us
better.
all the time.
Right.
So, topic for today. Let's talk about this generation of young adults that we have today,
Yes.
otherwise known as millennials.
Millennials.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on, millennials, and it's, I guess it's scary from our perspective,
Yes.
being Generation Xers, because they're our future.
Right here,
Oh, what? I mean, she's
No,
a
no, no.
millennial.
Nope.
millennial.
Nope. Put it down. I'm at the edge. I'm
Well,
at the edge.
Let's see for sure.
Well, go ahead. Tell me when it is. So I don't know.
So the greatest generation was born in 1928. Before 1928,
What's it called?
the greatest generation.
The Greatest Generation.
Yeah,
I didn't know
the
that.
greatest generation. They were born before 1928, so they are between 88 and 100 years old.
Wow. The greatest.
Yep.
Okay.
The silent generation are those born between 1928 and 1945.
And why are they silent?
I don't know. Maybe they don't have a lot to say. They're between 70 and 87.
Okay.
All right, and then we got the baby boom generation between 1946 and 1964.
Yep.
Those people are 51 to 69 years old.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
And we know why they're the baby booms, because
Right.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of them.
post-war.
Right.
Post-war, and there's a bunch of them. There's a million of them.
Yeah.
Millions of them. Then it's Generation X.
Okay.
It's my birth year.
Your birth year?
I mean, my generation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say not the year.
1965 to 1980. So they're between 35 and 50.
Yes.
So that's me, baby.
How old are you?
I'm turning 35 this year.
Oh, but you.
But you missed it.
Nope. Nope.
Almost.
Nope. I'm just gonna
Because you were
claim
born in
it.
82.
I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it in there.
Okay, so you are the millennial generation, born between 81 and 97.
Yeah.
Why they gonna put that on me?
Well, it's okay.
No, it's not.
Okay. Look,
I have an old
Listen.
soul. I'm not a part of
That
that.
does not, listen, there's nothing wrong with millennials.
absolutely.
Yes, it
There's
is.
nothing wrong with being a millennial. And all millennials are not bad, just like all Generation Xers are not bad.
Right.
Or
All baby
good.
boomers are not bad.
Or
Or
good.
silence.
Or all
the great,
silent.
Or the great. That should have been the
I don't
ours
really-
was named.
Well-
It should have been. We should have been the great generation.
Absolutely.
I think it should have
'Cause we
been
are
something
pretty
for
good
my
people.
generation. I mean, for me, by my year, by itself, like not.
Okay,
included.
so
Okay.
millennials.
We gonna-
And then those born after like 97, they started really kind of 96, the Generation Z, or the iGen generation, the internet generation.
Okay.
Ah,
And they also call them the homeland generation because it was after 9/11.
okay. I've never heard that.
Me either.
Yep. So I do all of the research
Thank you.
on the show so that
Appreciate it.
so that
We show
have
up.
some facts.
I'm not upset. I thought everything I said was factual.
Apparently it is.
Well, yeah.
Well, you're always a good one with the pen, so you're always upstanding,
Thank you.
and I'm the girl, so I'm cute.
Yes, that's
See, so we all made it work.
all facts.
All facts, all truth.
All right.
So that information I gave you is according to the fact tank.
Okay.
All right, and so what I want to talk about is the state that these Generation Y and Zers are. I'm sorry,
No.
the millennials and
Millennials
generational
and
Zs.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they still Y and Z.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Generation Y is the millennials. Generation Z is the I generation.
Okay.
All right.
So, or they call them post millennials.
Okay.
So these are the children that are teenagers today. They're, they was born
My son.
97, 98, all the way up to, now.
Yeah.
And this generation is born with the internet in their hands.
Yes.
They're born with social media. They're born with computers.
Yes.
99% of their jobs by mid-century will require computer technology. And they are born into a more social, responsible world, and a more socially what do you call it? Connected.
Okay.
Socially connected world.
Okay.
So the millennials now, your friends.
No.
Your
Okay, well, my
these
friends.
20 to 30 something.
Tell us about them.
They are the needy generation.
The lazy generation.
Yeah, they are been called the lazy generation. It's not that they don't desire more. It's just because they don't know how to necessarily get what they desire. They've been handed a lot. They've been given a lot because Generation X was the very next highly educated generation to come out since, ever. Right? So those more educated, more prominent positions that people held, they were able to give their children more, and they have a need and expectation to be given things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they've never had to be the one to go out and fetch for themselves or to have a lot of independence.
So the real concern with the millennials is that they seem to be a violent crew too. So they seem to be more violent than other generations. The crimes they commit are more violent, more suicides, more incarcerations than previous generations.
Right.
More mass murderers.
Probably more depression.
More depression.
Yep.
And that's why I said it's not necessarily that they're all bad. It's how do we get to them and help them? What is it that they're lacking there?
Well, from a Christian perspective, they're also less likely to believe in God.
Yes, they are.
And that was something that I did. I did do some fact checking on that.
Yeah.
But they are less likely to believe in God. I think it goes back from a spiritual standpoint. It's a fundamental issue that they don't go to church.
Yep.
And so they lack a fundamental moral understanding. In my
It's true.
estimation, I think that instead of worshiping God, they worship the computer, the tablet, the cell phone, and everything that comes from that is it's like an extension of an organ that is of their body. And to see them without, I've seen my kid have hers taken away from her, and they almost like they got to figure out what life is all about again.
Because
they don't know.
Because they got their phone taken away.
They got the phone taken away, and it's like, what do I do?
How do I live?
And they don't know how to communicate face to face anymore.
Absolutely.
I was standing in the kitchen. I was cooking one day, and my oldest son was on the phone a couple years ago, and his phone rang, and he seemed disgusted to answer it. I mean, it was painful for him to get the phone out of his pocket and actually slide the bar over and say hello.
Wow.
And he looked at the phone. He's like, "Hello," and some other kid. He's like, Dude, don't ever call me again. Don't ever call me. I'll be there if I'm gonna be there. Don't ever call me though. Text or something." And hung the phone up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What was that about?" He's like, "Oh, that's my boy. He wanted to play basketball." I'm like, "That was your boy?"
And that's how you talk to him?
He's like, "Well, what he calling me for? We ain't together."
Right.
Wow.
I mean, and they got this thing about texting and everything.
Yep.
The communication is so broken until it's almost even hard to understand them, even though you came from the same family.
I think that's another problem, is that there is a real disconnect from a social aspect, from a face-to-face interaction. And they really struggle with that because, like you said, everything is text. They live in a cyber world where they're connected to everything and everybody, all of the friends in school and the things of that nature. They can go and follow Beyonce on her page and see what she's tweeting and what everybody is doing. And they have all of the stuff where they never have to speak.
Yep.
They never have to talk. They never have to share their feelings or their thoughts or, in a personal way. They don't. And so then when you come up and you talk to one of these kids, and a lot of them, and I don't want to paint everybody, but a lot of them have a real problem opening up. Right. And you said something earlier. You were talking about the kids. They have they're not lazy, but they have trouble sharing what's wrong with, what they want to do and that kind of thing.
What they need. And how
What they need, yeah. But there's the other difficult part of it is, as parents, we're available to talk to them and help them. But because of the disconnect,
yes,
they have also issues expressing themselves and trusting that you can help them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
I have a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to tell them myself, because I am a millennial, and so I went to school with them.
Oh, you did?
But a lot of the people I went to school with, because I went to school later on, I got married and stuff first, and then I had to go back to school.
Okay.
So when I went back to school, I'm used to living a certain life, much more grown up, much more, real, responsible. I have a concept of reality, and when I went back to school, I realized that these people don't have a concept of reality like that. We were told to do a paper, and it was a 2-page paper. We're supposed to type it and you print it out and whatever. So for the rough draft, this girl that I was doing her peer editing, first of all, she wrote it out instead of typing it. And it was clear that the instructions were to type it. And so I'm like, well, it should be easy for y'all. That's all y'all do is type. Right. Well, she wrote it out, and then the paper was in text form. What I mean by that is, instead of saying 2, writing T-O, it was the number 2. Wow. And then it was 4, instead of saying, like if you're saying for you. So instead of saying for you, she's wrote 4 and then you. And that was how her paper read. And I said,
wow. So
she don't even know how to write. Right. She didn't even know how to write out of text form, out of, shortening every little thing, everything. And it was some stuff. I said, well, what is this? She said, that's between. I said, oh. I said, well, what is this? She said, that's, and it was just like, it was straight.
She had it all down, too.
Right. She said, that's straight. I said, this is a S, T, and an 8. She said, yeah, that means straight. Because you put the S-T and then you put 8 is a straight.
So,
and it was
I
like,
ask you, do you think schools have something to do with this? And the reason I'm saying that is, and I remember my children, when we were in school, they used to teach us manuscript. We used to have to learn how to write in cursive, how to print, lower and uppercase. It was part of the homeroom class, right? They wouldn't teach my children how to write.
Yeah, they said they took cursive out of the system.
Not just in cursive, they didn't teach them how to print either.
Oh.
No, you just figure it out. So I actually had to create the index cards for my kid, and every day we would go home.
I did do that for my son.
Yep.
I did that for my son too.
Every day I have them write.
That's true.
Have them keep writing until they learn how to do their manuscript and cursive writing.
Yeah.
So that's one element of it, and a lot of it is because that ain't on the test. Yeah. They only teach them for the benchmarks.
Yeah.
I remember taking typing in school. They have computer classes. They won't teach them how to type. And so you watch them type, and they type it with 2 fingers.
As long as they can pass it, it's all. That's all. Right. Pass the test.
And so it's amazing to me that it's not just their fault. I think that we are failing them in a lot of areas because we are so busy. We are so focused on success. We are so focused on giving them what they want.
I agree. I was going to say
until we stop to think, we forget to think about what they need to be successful.
True.
You had said something earlier that sparked something in me, where you were saying that they don't live in reality.
Yep.
But they actually do live in a reality that is prevalent in today's society.
Okay.
And
the media.
Well, just in this digital stratosphere.
Right.
See, when we were coming up, the thing to have, our needs were very basic and very simple. But that, we wanted, to go to school and to get a good education, and to get a good job, and to marry a wife, and and those kind of things, and to buy a car, and to, all of the very basic things that. And when you were able to fulfill those or scratch those off the list, it was like, that was great.
All right,
you were living life.
Yep.
But today's kids, they live in a totally different society where everything is digitized and it's in front of them and they're connected to the whole world.
Right.
I used the example earlier where they can follow, their artists,
Right.
24 hours a day, everything that they do, everything that they say,
Yep.
you know, they can be famous, you know, they can be famous instantly by putting out a YouTube video
Yep, that's
and
true.
stream it out to millions of people, and hopefully a bunch of people will start looking at it and they'll gain notoriety from that aspect. But it's like they're plugged into the entire world and just with a handheld device. And it has changed society.
Yes.
Yes, I think what you're really saying is that the influences are so much greater in so many different aspects of it. It's not the same desires that your parents had coming
Right.
up to grow up together and
more
have
complex.
a house with a
Yeah.
picket fence and all of that. The complexity is that they get to see how the entire world lives, how the entire
Yes.
world behaves. And the reality that they get caught up in is a virtual reality that is not necessarily, and you said it, not
Right.
reality. It's because it's not real to them.
Right.
You're right. It's something that they desire to be. Everybody want to be like Drake. Everybody want to be like James
Beyonce.
Harden. They want to be like Beyonce. Every kid dreams of playing basketball and becoming a rap star, or becoming some TV or internet or reality show sensation.
Yep.
When the reality is that you're gonna end up changing tires because you didn't want to go to class and
That's
learn
true.
basic arithmetic.
Yeah.
And so it's things like that I think, and that's what I said. Are we failing them because we allow them to live that way? But then you brought up another point, Pastor Steve, where you can only help them so much when they're only ready to listen and learn.
That's true.
So let me say that twofold, just based on what we were just talking about. Parents need to understand that this is not the olden days.
Yes.
There's a different way that things are being done today. Kids are seeing things different. They're responding different based on the societal norms of today.
Yes.
And I think that the disconnect is why I think you have a lot of parents that don't understand what's going on.
Right.
Right.
I think that the other thing is, like you're saying, they're not spending, the parents aren't spending enough time with the kids.
Yep.
And I don't think that they're giving them the discipline and the attention that they need,
Right.
going forward in life.
The other side of it is they're giving them the wrong kind of attention. It's that instant gratification.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, notice I led with discipline.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they don't have
consistent
that.
pleasure. I
Yeah.
mean, that's all
what
they
they
think
think
about.
about.
And
Yep.
so for most parents, it's about how can I give them everything that they desire before they desire it, or give them everything they desire as they're asking for it.
yeah.
How do I continually feed their pleasure principles
Yeah.
to make them happy?
Yeah.
Because if they're not happy, then it creates a horrible environment or culture at home.
And see, that's wrong, because they already get that every day. And every time they put something on the internet and they get a like, pleasure. And every time they do this and they get a video view, pleasure. Everything in their life is about pleasure. When are they gonna ever get down to business?
Yeah.
When is something gonna actually have to be worked on? When is ever something gonna have to be lived out and talked out?
Well, that's hard to do when
get what I'm
everything
saying?
is so instant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to imagine a world where you got to actually wait on something or work at something and work to obtain it or work to keep it or maintain it.
Yeah.
Because I can go to Google and say, what is the answer to such and such? And I can get it instantly.
Right.
And so that instant gratification for them has come to be such a norm until actually working for something seems to be just, it seems
Too
out
much.
of control. It's
Right.
like, why would I do that?
Right.
Yeah.
In that same example, that little thing will defeat an entire library.
Yes.
Where you would have had to dig for that information.
Yes.
Where you had to understand.
Find it.
Yeah, now it's just a question. You just throw out in the air, you get a precise answer back.
That's right.
And so it makes it a lot easier for them. There's also, it gets to a point where you have given them so much that the parent needs to be aware that when there's minimal thanks for what they're doing.
Gratitude.
There's no gratitude. And when it gets to that point, we have to be smarter as parents to say, hey, we have saturated them with too much good right now.
Yes.
And we need to scale that back so that they can learn to how
appreciate
to exist in this world.
Yes.
And existing in this world is about having appreciation and about telling people no.
That's true.
We have that strong sense on our jobs and in other areas of our lives,
Yep.
but it's like when it comes to the
children.
kids,
Yep.
it's like we lose all sense of who we are and what they need. But that's when we really should be breaking down and understanding, letting them understand that, hey, there are consequences
True.
in this life for good behavior and bad behavior. And we have to give them boundaries so that they can live here.
And you know what? Going back to that about what you said, you were saying like, is it something that we're setting them up for failure? And I agree, because some of these things that we're teaching, like going back to the cursive, my son, he was, I asked him, I said, what's that say? He said, hold on, Mom, I have trouble with cursive. Right. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I have trouble reading cursive. So just tell me what it say. So if I was to just give in and just like, oh, it says such and such, then I'm not helping him. I said, boy, you better read. What do it look like? Right. What do it sound it out? What do it look like? He said, well, I don't know. Is this a Z? Is this a, because they don't teach him cursive, so he don't know. But it's like, it's still my job as a parent not to just give him the easy way out and be like, oh, it just says lazy. No, it's read it. What does it say? You know what I'm saying?
I think that on that same note, I think that as parents, we have also become very lazy ourselves.
Yes.
And we, to be honest, when it comes to parenting, we have become the lazy generation, because we allow for these other devices to raise our kids.
Yep.
They can sit in front of the television for hours. They can sit in front of the computer and text, and you don't know who they're talking to or what they're doing, who's influencing them. Video games is out of control. And so then you sit there, and the thing is, we don't want to stop what we're doing, because work is so important, and this other thing that we've got is so important, and as long as they sit in a corner and be quiet, right, then it's okay. But then these kids are screaming out for help, but they don't know how to do it because they haven't been taught any fundamentals, because you were too busy being at work.
One of the most profound things I heard, and it was probably from my mom and Bishop, she said that there's a million influences in the world, and your job as a parent is to be the strongest.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you allow all of these other influences into their lives, all of these other distractions from what you've put in them as children, then you open the floodgates to them to live in this alternative world.
Yes.
And it goes beyond them just not being able to cope well with communication and work a real job or do well in school and talk face to face. But it also lends to them being more depressed.
Sure.
Suicide rates are rising amongst these younger people.
Yeah.
They're feeling more alone. I don't care how connected they are through these devices.
Yes.
They can connect to somebody from Spain or Barcelona right now in a matter of seconds, but yet they got 5,000 friends on Facebook and they still feel alone.
Right.
Because there's no real
interaction. Yeah.
Not just interactions, there's no real connections. I mean, they're not connecting like humans connect.
That's
right. They're not becoming friends with people other than on the superficial level.
Exactly.
Liking somebody's photo is not becoming their friend.
Exactly. It's so true.
And I think that as long as we allow these devices to raise our children, as long as we allow medias and these video games and stuff you talked about to be the most prominent influence in our homes, we're going to have this problem. And it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
You got to think about it from this perspective too. These children are having children.
Yes, that's true.
So if they're the needy generation, what are their children going to be like? You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's almost like we are perpetuating a problem that is going to actually, if it didn't change society forever already, it will very soon in the near future.
Yes.
These Generation Z children are coming up with the same mindset, only the difference is they got their devices when they were 4 and 5.
Exactly.
When your children had to wait until they were 10 or 15.
Right.
And so they're getting younger and younger, starting to have this emotional disconnect from society, emotional disconnect from people and humans, and not really understanding or knowing how to communicate with people.
Right.
Yeah.
This is going to be a real problem for us in our society if we don't change things.
Yeah, just living in a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insulated or isolated from everything and everybody around them, and they feel like nobody understands them and all of that. And it's just a real disconnect. The parents, like I said earlier, they don't understand how to work with the kid because they don't understand that things have changed, the dynamics have changed, the tables have shifted.
Right.
And we need to be able to shift along with that to be able to help our kids.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. This is a good conversation.
Was.
This is one of those kind of conversations you'll probably hear us talking about a lot because we're all family members and we got children coming up together. And we are all looking for solutions on how to make better families and how to make sure that we're raising a generation that's successful in supporting us in our future.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So Thanks again for listening and watching. We want to hear your comments. Tell us what you think about this conversation. You might have some thoughts that might spark some new conversation. And we'll pick this one up again in a later taping. But we want to see your face, so why don't you show up at 8401 Puritan in Detroit, and you can also find us at EHOG Ministries on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Sure.
You can also reach us at podcast at ehogministries.com if you want to send us an email, kind of let us know what you think about us and what we're doing here. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, take care and God bless.